Did you know that Nagi's actually rich? Or that Chigiri almost quit football? Well, today we're breaking down every single backstory in Blue Lock. And we, of course, gotta start with the Itoshi brothers, Ren and Sai. As kids, these two were actually best friends, and always by each other's side. And Ren thought his brother was amazing, and he just loved watching Sai play football. As Sai was this insanely talented prodigy who was already winning tournaments, literally getting interviewed and scoring crazy goals, all to become the best striker in the world. Then one day during one of Sai's matches, Ren suddenly ran onto the pitch and perfectly volleyed in one of Sai's crosses. Yeah, the other kids got mad at Ren for running onto the pitch, but Sai was amazed by Ren's shot and instead praised him. Like he told him he was incredible, and that he should start playing football with him and become the second best striker in the world after him. And that's exactly what happened. Ren and Sai played football all the time, crushing everyone they faced, and made a promise to become the world's best strikers together and win the World Cup. Even though Sai got scouted by Real's youth academy and left Japan, they still held on to that dream. But yeah, everything changed when Sai came back because he was way colder and a totally different person. He even told Ren he didn't want to be a striker anymore. He wanted to become the best midfielder instead, completely shattering their dream. But Ren just couldn't accept that. So Sai challenged him to a 1-versus-1, promising that if Ren won, he'd go back to their dream. But yeah, Sai absolutely destroyed him, as after playing in Spain for 4 years, he was on a completely different level. But Sai didn't just destroy him at football, he also crushed his heart, as he told him he was disgusted with him and that Japanese football was trash. He even told Ren to quit football and called him just an annoying little brother. So at first, Ren really wanted to quit football, as he felt betrayed and used by his older brother. But the sadness he felt turned into pure anger. Now, Ren's only goal is to surpass his brother and defeat him. And Sai, he's still working to become the best midfielder in the world. Okay, that was a lot, but let's continue with Hyoma Chigiri. Just like Ren and Sai, Chigiri was a football prodigy. He was super fast, very confident, and already by the age of just 6, he thought he was better than everyone, and football was everything for him. Getting into high school, he joined Rajitsu Tech to make a name for himself and make it to nationals. But here, he met the Wanama brothers who thought they were way better than the rookie Chigiri. But yeah, Chigiri challenged them to a match and easily outclassed them with his insane speed and technique, and took over their spot as the team's star striker. Because of his speed, Chigiri even became famous. Seriously, like he appeared in magazines and interviews, and he told everyone that he would become the best striker in the world. However, that dream got crushed, because in one match, Chigiri tore his ACL. Although the doctor told him the injury wasn't career-ending, one more injury to his knee and his football days could be over. So Chigiri got terrified that he might never be able to play football again. So even after he recovered, he didn't have that same speed anymore, as he was just so scared of losing the freedom and joy of playing football. But yeah, thanks to Isagi, Chigiri is now once again back to his best. Moving on, let's talk about the duo of Rayo Mikage and Seishiro Nagi. First up, Rayo was born into crazy money, as he was the heir to the massive Mikage corporation worth over 700 billion yen. Yeah, he's insanely rich. So as a kid, he got literally everything he wanted. Games, consoles, toys, you name it. But all that luxury started to feel meaningless and empty. Then one day he saw a World Cup video and boom, he found his dream in football. However, his parents didn't support his dream, especially his dad, who told him to give it up and focus on business because he was too old to ever go pro. But instead of quitting, that just fired him up even more. So he decided he'd lead his school team to the nationals. The only problem was that his elite school's football team was trash. That's when fate stepped in as Rayo bumped into Seishiro Nagi in the hallway and watched him casually catch his falling phone with his foot. Nagi had never even played football before, but his raw talent blew Rayo's mind. And Nagi, he was just this super lazy guy who only wanted to stay home and play games all day. He also spent most of his time alone, as his parents were always traveling, as yeah, Nagi was pretty rich too, although not even close to Ryo-level rich. But back to Ryo and Nagi's first meeting, and right then and there, Ryo saw Nagi as a once-in-a-lifetime gem, and he wanted to play football with him. And Nagi, he actually agreed, but only if he could get money, and that was, of course, not a problem for Rayo. That's how the Ryo-Nagi duo was born. From that point on, Rayo did everything to become better and trained with Nagi every single day. As a result, their insane chemistry on the field made them unstoppable, beating everyone and even getting called the star duo in magazines. And now these two share the same dream, which is winning the World Cup together. Next up, we've got Meguru Bachira. Ever since he was a kid, Bachira absolutely loved football. He was always out dribbling and kicking the ball around, playing his own way and having super fun doing it. But because he was way too skilled and different from the other kids, they started bullying him, and they called him things like freak or monster and completely left him out. But Bachira's mom always encouraged him. She told him to embrace that monster inside him, the voice that pushes him to create and believe in himself, just like she does with her art. So Bachira started playing alone, and that monster became his imaginary friend that he played with. Even as he grew older and joined a team, he was still way better than everyone else, and no one could keep up with his level of football. He also didn't trust his teammates and hated how no one cared about the fun of football anymore. It was now all about winning. But deep down, Bachira was scared of playing football alone forever. Like just the thought of it made him feel like he might die. Still, he kept playing, hoping that one day he'd meet someone who had a monster just like him. And then came Blue Lock, and here, he finally found someone like him. Now, let's talk about Shoei Baro. As a kid, Baro was already the star of his team and everyone thought he was amazing. And Baro, he had so much confidence that he'd literally yell at his teammates to move so he could score. However, little Baro just couldn't understand why his teammates were happy just playing the supporting roles for him. Like, he thought, why do they even play football? As he got older, Baro stopped trying to figure people out and focused completely on himself, training every single day and crushing team after team with his insane talent. But here's the wild part. Baro doesn't love football because he enjoys the sport or because he feels like a king on the field. Nope. He loves football because he can humiliate people who've dedicated their entire lives to the game, ripping people's dreams away right in front of them thanks to his goals. Yeah, Baro's a literal villain, and he wants to be the strongest just so he can keep doing exactly that. Someone else who's really strong is Oliver Aiku. If you didn't know, at first Aiku actually wanted to be the best striker in the world. He had the talent, the physique, and the football IQ to do it. But the adults around him completely killed that dream. Coaches kept drilling into him that he had to play for the team, and when he asked if he could focus on scoring more, his coach straight up told him to either follow the system or quit. So over time, Aiku realized they didn't care about creating geniuses. They only cared about control and mass-producing boring, system-dependent players. So he became exactly what they wanted, a support player. He was successful, sure, but he lost the spark of football and eventually told his coach football wasn't fun anymore and wanted to quit, as his dream of being a top striker was now dead. But because of his hatred towards his coach and every adult who killed top strikers in Japan, Aiku now had a different dream: to become the best defender in the world and to crush every boring striker that the adults in the system mass produce. And he did just that. He quickly became Japan's top defender, the captain of the U20 national team, and even got offers from Italy's top football league. Moving on, we've got to talk about Hiyori's backstory. Yeah, Hiyori is this super kind guy, but he actually had a pretty heartbreaking backstory. Because growing up, Hiyori's parents, who were both former successful athletes, only cared about one thing: turning Hiyori into the world's #1 football player. So from a young age, they forced him into elite training and put crazy pressure on him to succeed. And yeah, he got really good, but Hiyori didn't even love football, he just wanted to play casually with his friends, but he kept playing to make his parents happy. Then things got even worse when his parents started arguing over his diet and training to the point that they even threatened to divorce if he didn't become the #1 player in the world. Hiyori, seeing all this, had a really bad fall down the stairs, and when his parents rushed to check on him, Hiyori realized they weren't worried about him, just his injury. That's when it hit him. His parents didn't love him, they just loved his talent. As he got older, Hiyori kept playing football even though he hated it, only to stop his parents from divorcing. So he started gaming and became more withdrawn. Then he met Tabito Karasu, who straight up told him, "Yeah, you're talented, but you've got no fire." When Hiyori opened up about how he really felt, Karasu told him, "Think about yourself first." That line pushed Hiyori to finally start thinking about what he wanted, so when he got his Blue Lock invitation, he instantly decided to go. Not because he loved football, but because he wanted to escape his parents, who he now literally hated and made him sick. Yeah, that was a pretty heartbreaking story, but this next one is even worse because now we're talking about Michael Kaiser. Yeah, you probably hate this guy, but he had the absolute worst childhood. Like right after he was born, Kaiser was abandoned by his mom, who was an actress and was chasing fame. His father, a small-time theater director, completely fell apart with drinking, gambling, and raging. As a result, Kaiser was forced to steal for his dad, and even when he succeeded, he got nothing but daily abuse. The yelling, the beatings, all because his dad hated the woman who left him and the son she named Michael, a name his father never said once. By 12, Kaiser had saved up his own secret stash of money and finally bought something for himself. A football. That ball became his escape and his only source of happiness. But things got even worse, as Kaiser was falsely accused of robbery and the cops raided his house, found his stash, and his dad snapped and smashed a bottle over his head and even tried to destroy the only thing Kaiser loved, his ball. That's when Kaiser had enough. Even while handcuffed, he fought back, protecting his ball, and literally took down 7 police officers with it. After getting arrested, Ray Dark saw potential in him and got him out. The first thing Kaiser did was tattoo a blue rose on his neck as a remembrance of his mother and as it symbolizes achieving the impossible. He then also joined Bastard München, and at first, he didn't trust anyone, and instead manipulated people, like turning Ness into his perfect pawn, and every goal, every broken opponent made Kaiser feel more human. Now, Kaiser's ultimate goal is winning the Champions League and the World Cup, proving to the whole world that he's unstoppable. Talking about Alexis Ness, he's up next. Ness grew up in a super strict family of scientists who believed everything in life could be explained logically. But little Ness, he loved magic and having fun. Sadly, his family thought that was dumb. They literally called him stupid and a good-for-nothing for believing in something as silly as magic. His dad even straight up told him that anyone who believes in unexplainable things doesn't belong in their family. So Ness was heartbroken, despised his parents, and felt like a total outcast. But that's when Ness decided to go out and search for real magic. And finally, he found it. Football. To Ness, football players were like wizards casting spells on the field. Even when his family said it was impossible for him to become a football player, he did everything to prove them wrong and dreamed of one day representing Germany and showing them his magic. And Ness did become insanely talented. He even got scouted for a Bastard München tryout, but when the match started, he got completely overwhelmed, and his magic wasn't working. That's when Kaiser stepped in, told him to get up, and from that moment, Ness and Kaiser became an unstoppable duo. Thanks to Ness's insane passing and Kaiser's lethal shots, they destroyed everyone in that tryout. Since then, Ness and Kaiser have been inseparable, and Kaiser's dream eventually became Ness's dream too. Now, we finally got to talk about Yoichi Asagi. Yeah, you might think Asagi had a terrible childhood because, well, just look at this guy. But nope, he had 2 loving parents, a happy and normal life, and he just loved football. Like ever since he was a kid, he looked up to Noel Noah, the world's best striker, and wanted to become just like him and one day win the World Cup. Fast forward to high school, and Isagi played striker for Ichinan High, and during a crucial match in the Saitama Finals, he had the perfect chance to score the game-winning goal. But instead of shooting, he passed to a teammate who missed. That decision haunted him, and he realized that he gave up his dream because he wasn't selfish enough to shoot, so Isagi was devastated. But then everything changed when he got that letter inviting him to the Blue Lock project, because now he's on his way to becoming the best striker in the world. Next up, let's talk about Kenyu Yukimeia. Yukimeia not just a great football player, he's also ridiculously popular, especially with the girls. Like he seriously gets stopped in the streets by people who think he's a model and wants to take photos of him. But one day, his vision started getting blurry, and it turned out he's got a disease in his optic nerve that causes blind spots when he's tired, and in worst cases, it can even result in blindness. Anyway, Yukimeia asked the doctor if he could still play football. He told him that making it as a pro footballer would be really difficult with this condition. And of course, Yukimeia was absolutely crushed. He thought it was super unfair and just wanted his dream back. But the doctor didn't give up on him, and thanks to specialized windproof glasses that protect his vision and help prevent the blurriness, Yukimeia can still play. And although Yukimeia thinks it's unfair, he's more motivated than ever, pushing himself harder and faster to become the world's best striker, because with his eyesight getting worse, he doesn't have time to waste. Moving on, we've got Zantetsu Turugi. Yeah, we all know Zantetsu isn't exactly the smartest guy. Like, this guy has literally always been pretty dumb. And with a family full of dentists, he felt like the black sheep of the family, as he's the only one who isn't smart. Like, this guy didn't understand textbooks at school and couldn't even figure out train fares to get home. So, what did he do? He ran. Yup, since he couldn't get on the train, he ran to school and back home every single day. And that's how he realized he was insanely fast, so he decided to go all in on sports, dreaming of becoming the world's most esteemed moron. Yeah, I'm serious. And the only reason he chose football was purely on instinct. But yeah, Zantetsu hates being called an idiot, and it really bothers him. So now, he wants to prove that even someone dumb can make it in life. Someone else who can be kind of an idiot is Guramu Igarashi. The only thing we know about this guy's backstory is that he grew up in a temple, and that his dream is to become a professional football player so he won't have to stay a monk for the rest of his life. Moving on from Igarashi, we've got Gagamaru. And just like Igarashi, we really don't know that much about Gagamaru's backstory. Other than that, he literally grew up deep in the mountains, spending his days climbing trees and fighting bears. Yeah, crazy, right? Anyway, he still came down to go to school, but he absolutely hated it. The only thing he actually loved was football, and he dreamed of becoming a successful striker as he saw strikers as real-life superheroes, just like the heroes he reads about in his favorite mangas. Next up, let's talk about Asahi Naruhaya. Naruhaya grew up in a big family with lots of siblings, and after his parents passed away, he and his sister had to step up and take care of everyone. Life was tough and they were really poor, but Naruhaya always kept a smile on his face because he just wanted his siblings to be happy. But yeah, he carried this huge responsibility on his shoulders and promised himself he'd get his family out of poverty. That's why he trained every single day, giving it everything he had to one day become a pro football player. So when he got that Blue Lock invitation, he was super happy, and his whole family cheered him on and believed in him. But we all know how that went. Someone else who had a rough backstory is Mark Snuffy. So let's go back to the start of his pro career when he first met Mick Moon. These two hated each other and didn't even want to be teammates. But then, after scoring a super goal together that needed perfect coordination, they literally became best friends. Yeah, they partied, lived life like rock stars, and won championships side by side. But all that partying caught up to them, and they got kicked out of the starting lineup. So Snuffy wanted to change teams, start over, and once again become the best. But Moon, he was happy with the money and the life he was living. And even though they shared a dream of winning all 5 major European championships, Moon decided to stay and continue their dream with or without Snuffy. So they split on bad terms, as Snuffy left and Moon stayed. But the pressure, the neglect of training, and being forgotten by the world absolutely crushed Moon, and sadly, he decided to take his own life. And Snuffy, who literally just found him on the floor at his house, was devastated as he held his best friend in his arms and apologized to him. From that moment, Snuffy promised he would carry on their dream no matter what. Talking about Snuffy, we have to talk about Don Lorenzo. Lorenzo was born into a messed up family and a miserable household, and after being abandoned by his parents, he was forced to survive on the streets. He spent his days doing bad stuff just to get by, but eventually he completely lost hope and was ready to give up on life. But then Snuffy showed up and changed his entire life. He offered him help in exchange for playing football with him, and Lorenzo agreed, but only if Snuffy could turn his rotten teeth into gold. So Snuffy dragged him to the dentist and gave him his iconic golden teeth. Since that day, Lorenzo has been completely loyal to Snuffy, doing whatever he says without hesitation. He even became one of the new Gen 11, and his biggest goal now is to prove to Snuffy that he can be the absolute best for him. Moving on, let's talk about Jin Kiora. We really don't know much about Jin's backstory other than that when he was about to be born, he only had a 50-50 shot of surviving, but he, of course, did. And growing up, Jin had 2 brothers who were always fighting, and Jin was always in the middle of it and had to decide who he wanted to side with. And he came to realize, the one I side with will win. That's basically been how he's been thinking all his life, even now when he's at Blue Lock. Next up, we're actually going to talk about Wataru Kuon. You know, the guy who betrayed Team Z and almost got Asagi and the gang eliminated. Anyway, back in middle school, Kuon helped start a football club with his classmates and was fired up with dreams of making it to the Nationals and becoming a pro player. At first, things went really well. They were winning game after game and feeling good. But slowly, his teammates stopped showing up to practice, started slacking in matches, and eventually just gave up on the dream entirely. Kuon, still clinging to that dream of making it pro and reaching nationals, tried to motivate them, only to be laughed at and told he was taking football way too seriously. But worse, they said playing with him wasn't fun, and that he was too much. That moment hit hard, and he realized he was the only one who ever truly cared about winning. So left behind and sad, he found his invitation to Blue Lock, and that's when he made a new promise to himself that if no one else would fight to win, then he'd do it alone. Now, the last player we gotta talk about, Shudo Sendo. And I just had to mention this guy, because although we know nothing about this guy's backstory, we know that he became Japan's U20 star player, and that his dream of playing football wasn't to become the best striker in the world. Nope, it's to marry a Japanese gravure idol. Although yeah, he's now upgraded to a Hollywood actress. Who had the worst backstory in Blue Lock? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and watch this video next.